Alrighty guys, what's going on everybody? Welcome back here to some more coverage, my friends. I hope everyone is doing good out there. Glad to have y'all here yet again. So we have another enhanced risk for today. This is kind of something that kind of popped up here in the last update from the Storm Prediction Center. We do got ourselves a level 3 threat. Today's main concern is going to be Wisconsin, central southern side, southeastern Minnesota, a little bit of northern Illinois. Action there in that enhanced risk. Now, we are seeing the potential for some really strong winds today. We're talking potentially 70 plus miles an hour out there, as well as some large hail, potentially 2 inches in diameter and larger. And unfortunately, we are seeing the possibility out there for a couple of tornadoes with a 5% chance for tornadoes. Probability is a little bit lower since yesterday's threat. We had that 10% up in the Northeast we covered. But this event's a little lower probability, but there is still the potential out there for some tornadic activity overall. Tabletop dude, thank you man for the $2. Appreciate it. Saying biggest threat for Wilmington time frame. So yeah, you man. When it comes to it, you do have you're right on the edge of that that slight and that marginal. There's no tornadoes. So don't worry about any naders. The only concern is going to be maybe some small hail and maybe just some gusty winds overall. Storms are already starting to build to your west, but I'd give it a couple hours and you'll probably start to see some storms. Actually, probably within the next hour or so, you'll probably see some storms. But yeah, these guys ain't severe up there by you. Right now, we do have some severe storms up here towards the northern side, kind of the east central side here of North Carolina. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch in place for these regions, and a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings out there. Actually, hold on. These might be... Let me turn off... let's see here. Special weather statements. There we go. We'll turn those off. Okay, never mind. We just have the one severe for quarter hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Yeah, I had to, had to change that because they looked a little similar. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and see what we got today. We got ourselves Niagara Falls. We have Caleb. We have Tabletop. We have Roby. We have Amir. We have Logan. We have Pat. We have Burke. We have, let's see, Andy. We have Michael. We have Isaac. We have Christy. We have the Ohio channel. Let's see here. We got ourselves Ashes. We have Isaac. I think I already might have said Isaac, but Isaac's here. We have Christy. Let's see here. Elpulum. We have Faith Cats. We have ourselves Crossfire. What's up, guys? Hope everyone's doing good. So at the moment, we're kind of awaiting storms to fire off here across Wisconsin and those general areas here. Let me go ahead and pull up this. Oh, we're gonna have to reconfigure everything here. Let me go ahead and add Iowa State. Go ahead and get that going, and we're gonna bring up our radar here up in the north, up in the northern plain, or sorry, the upper Midwest here. Let's just go ahead and grab a, I don't know, we'll just grab a little radar site out here towards La Crosse in Wisconsin. Let's go ahead and pull some data here. But what's up, guys? What's up, Alex? What's up, Donna? Hope everyone's doing well. Like I said, it's good to see y'all again. Alrighty, let's see here. Alright, so currently, yeah, not a whole lot going on in this area. Let me go and hop to models. I feel like, let's go and take a look at that here. We're going to take a look at the timing regarding this event here overall. So let's go ahead and turn on our data here, and we'll go ahead and activate the towns here. So anyway, so we work our way down in time. Honestly... Wow, you know what? This is actually a pretty late event here. It seems like the main event's going to happen pretty much in the evening here overall. We are going to be seeing the potential there for, some really, really strong severe weather kicking off out there towards Minneapolis and, some of those regions there. It looks like right around 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern, so that'll be right around 8 Central is whenever that really starts to kick off. This is mostly going to be an overnight threat, y'all. So we're going to have to probably do some more coverage later on this evening for this in particular system. It's kind of like an MCS, basically a big cluster of severe weather going through the region here. Damaging winds, like I said, tornadoes, and some large hail will be a possibility. But yeah, that starts off there kind of just near Minneapolis. Pretty, like I was saying, it's pretty... pretty late of a threat out here towards Minneapolis, but one of the reasons I wanted to go live here was, for a little bit of coverage we're gonna do up here towards eastern North Carolina. Like I said, we're probably gonna have to end up, splitting this coverage up into two different parts. This being the first, and then of course the second being later on this evening. But we are seeing the possibility for some severe weather kicking off out here in like North Carolina, South Carolina region here. Over the next couple of hours, like I was mentioning, we're already starting to see a little bit of that activity down there. Let me go ahead and slowly work my way over here. Let's go ahead and grab the Southport weather radar out here. Just see, what's up, Jay? Hope you're doing good. How will this affect Michigan? Michigan is, let's see here. Michigan, we got a slight risk on the far western side out there right there towards Grand Rapids. It's right there on the border between the marginal and the slight. So western Michigan has a slight risk. Central Michigan has the marginal, including the upper state, actually. Same thing. So, yeah, western Michigan has slight risk, and central has the marginal risk out there. Tornadoes, not really expected for Michigan today, which is good news. We're not expecting really any tornadic activity out there. Possibility of some hail up in the upper state of Michigan, but not for the main state of Michigan. Mostly just a damaging wind threat later on. Possibility of producing some damaging wind gusts. Possibly 60, 70 miles an hour. So we'll have to watch out there. Thankfully, nothing significant up in that region there. What's up, Sam? Hope you're doing good. Glad to have you here. Radar scope or Omega? I would start off with radar scope personally. That's where I started off with. There's a lot of things in radar Omega that just can kind of be a little overwhelming to get used to. But let's see here. Christy, it is hot here. Yeah, it's been a little warm. Just a little bit. You're welcome, Tabletop. No problem, man. Let's see here. I'm sorry to hear that. Ohio. Talking to Ohio. Gotcha. Let's see here. How bad is it going to get in the central Wisconsin, like Marshfield area? Well, you guys have a pretty solid shot in central Wisconsin. We do have that 30% risk for significant damaging winds later today. Like I was mentioning, there is a possibility, that we could have ourselves some damaging winds, exceeding possibly 70, 80 plus miles an hour today, later on this evening. So yeah, your threat's going to be a little later on. Hail threat also, we do have a hatch risk for hail, more up to the north, more for like, the upper portions of, obviously for majority of the state of Minnesota, but, a lot of the upper portions too. Even far eastern North Dakota has a hatch risk for hail. Possibility of some hail being basically 2 inches in diameter and larger. So we are talking the potential of some pretty big hailstones, possibly exceeding 2 inches in diameter. Like I said, the tornado threat for the people just joining, we got a 5% today. This includes Minneapolis area, going all the way from Minneapolis down there towards Milwaukee. From Minneapolis to Milwaukee, we have a 5% chance for tornadoes out there today. Central southern side of Wisconsin, a little sliver of northeastern Iowa there too, and southeastern Minnesota. We do got ourselves that 5% chance. So a couple of tornadoes cannot be ruled out in this area today. We do have ourselves that tornado threat also going up into even Canada, actually. But yeah, out there towards like northern Minnesota, eastern North Dakota, we do have ourselves the overall tornado threat also going down there towards Chicago. Which, the probabilities of seeing all of that kick off out there, like tornadoes in Chicago, it's a very low probability today, so it's nothing I'd really freak out about. Now, for the risk that we're kind of covering right now down here in the south, the southeast here, we are, like I said, there's not really any tornado concern with those storms. The main problem is going to be damaging winds out there, towards like eastern North Carolina near Wilmington, Jacksonville, Beaufort. Let's see here, Kitty Hawk area. Yeah, so Greenville going up there into 15%. So we're talking out here potential damaging winds up there to, like I said, 60 to 70 miles an hour. And of course, hail. There's a little isolated hail threat today up in these regions here, but honestly, nothing super wild. What's up, Catman? Hope you're doing good, my friend. Were there any confirmed tornadoes yesterday? Not that I know of. I'm not going to say no because I don't really know, but from what I saw, I didn't see any. We covered 3.5 hours on yesterday's coverage for the Northeast, and it was pretty underactive. I noticed as soon as I went offline once I concluded my 3.5 hours of coverage, as soon as I ended it, I noticed like 3 tornado warnings get issued for the areas that we were covering for. I don't think any of those materialized, though. I think those just stayed radar indicated, thankfully. But it was that's just how it goes, man. As soon as I head off the stream, it's like that's whenever everything starts to always fire off. So, I was live for 3.5 hours, and of course, not too much activity tornado-wise in that 3.5 hours, and then of course, as soon as I end it, that's whenever everything started popping off. That's just how it goes, man. Just how it goes. Let's see here. But anyways, so yeah, we will be doing zip codes today, guys, like I was doing earlier. Let's first of all take a look at the models. Let's just go ahead and see kind of what we're in for today. We're going to have to get rid of the southeast here for now. Let's go ahead and hop on down to the south. So HRRR obviously shows a bunch of scattered, potentially severe thunderstorms later on today out there across portions of eastern North Carolina and places out there towards like northeastern South Carolina there overall. So a bunch of scattered storms possible throughout this evening. When it comes to the instability, there's a pretty good amount of energy in our atmosphere. Like I was typically saying before, you typically want about 1,000 plus joules per kilogram. So think of this as the energy, the fuel for these storms. Anything 1,000 plus is pretty decent, and we're having those values, anchoring over 2,000. So there's plenty enough instability and fuel in the atmosphere for these storms. So that ain't a concern today. In terms of in terms of lower level winds, like our lower level wind, our lower level jet here, we do got ourselves, like I said, nothing super crazy, maybe 20 knots, some localized 30 knots out there just off the coast of North Carolina. Honestly, like I said, would not really support any tornadic activity for today, so we're not expecting any tornadoes to occur up in North Carolina today, so that's a good news. Mid-level wind shear is... we've got a little bit of a trough here currently over the northeast. That was actually yesterday's system that started bringing severe weather to the northeast. We have a trough, which is a dip in the jet stream here, which is allowing for the winds, to pick up a little bit, but they're really not moving that fast. Wind shear is pretty low today, which is basically just winds throughout the atmosphere. Is pretty weak today. Shouldn't allow for anything significant really to occur. Just kind of more of your normal thunderstorms there, but greatest potential once again, will be the potential out there for some damaging winds and all that fun stuff. Now then we hop up to the models up here in the north. Let's try the upper Midwest. Hold on a minute, we might have to maybe hop up here first. So later on today, obviously things are going to really pick up later on this evening with supercell composites are through the roof out there. Supercell composite basically just kind of mixing up all the parameters, giving you potential for supercells. But we're talking over 20. Values of 20 is pretty daggone high. Whoa. What the heck? Okay, that's really... Wow. So... the instability is almost breaking the charts here, man. 5, almost 6,000 joules per kilogram. Like I was saying, you only need about 1,000 to get some organized severe weather. But dude, we're seeing over 5,000 joules per kilogram out there, according to NAM. Let me try RAP. See what the RAP... Dude, RAP shows it too, man. Wow. That is a really unstable atmosphere up there later on this evening. That is like unbelievable. Let's take a look at our lower level wind shear. So we do have a little bit of a surface low here, as you can tell. There's a little bit of a trough, just kind of a little weak low, but that's going to amplify your lower level wind shear, allowing for the possibility of that line or that MCS's storms later on today could potentially support a couple tornadoes, given we're talking over 30 knots, nearly 40 knots in some areas of lower level wind shear. So that could support some tornadoes, of course. In terms of mid-level wind, we mostly have zonal flow, like I was saying, for the most part, except for the east. It's mostly just straight across. We do have a little bit of that trough, like I was mentioning, though, up in the northeast. But overall, dude, I'm just still blown away with all that amount of instability that the models are showing. Dude, that is absolutely crazy. It's not every day you see that. Here, I'm just gonna grab a sounding out of this. I am gonna just cherry pick a sounding here. Just see how that looks. Let's go ahead and pull up our full screen here so you can see the... Holy cow. Okay, that's a contaminated sounding, but dude, those lapse rates are thick. Holy cow. 9.4 degrees Celsius degree drop per kilometer. Pretty nice curvature photographs there too. Oh my goodness, that is quite a beefy sounding. Let me try another one here from NAM. That was from Rap that we looked at there. Let's see what this one shows. A little bit better. Wow, dude, that's just wow. That is a nasty sounding. So basically, you know, between that dotted blue line and that red there, that red line's your temperature. That's kind of your parcel path here. So between that's what we call CAPE, which is your fuel for storms. That's your instability. That is a lot of energy, dude. That's a lot of energy. So, yeah, over 6,000 joules per kilogram. D-CAPE values are over 1,400. That's going to really support those damaging winds. So that's basically your instability in your downdrafts of your thunderstorm. So in thunderstorms, you have updrafts, which that's how a thunderstorm starts. You get that warm updraft, shoots up in the sky. It cools down and condenses as it rolls its way up. And then it comes back down as your downdraft. And, you know, we're measuring how impactful that downdraft is going to be. You know, how hard that air is smacking the ground. And determining on how hard the air is, you know, smacking the ground will determine, you know, potential damaging winds. And that's where the winds really come from. You know, those damaging winds is, you know, typically comes from those, you know, those downdrafts there. And with, you know, D-CAPE values, you know, downdraft or downwards instability, over 1,400 joules per kilogram. That is definitely supportive of some really strong winds out here today. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some exceeding 80 miles an hour today. You know, out of that MCS that's supposed to form later on today, that is just unbelievable. Yeah, pretty pretty crazy out there. James says, remember, chat, we got to share this information to as many people as possible. Yeah, if you guys could, it'd be greatly appreciated. Joshua says, there's enough shear to cause maybe significant tornadoes, according to Reed. I mean, we do have about a 45 knot LLJ, according to you know, both RAP and NAM. Obviously, RAP being more you know, more higher resolution, which, you know, as we progress down in time, you know, we do have about a 45 knot lower level jet. I think it could support some strong tornadoes. Still not too sure about violent tornadoes, but we do have that little surface low there that we've been watching. You know, that's kind of, you know, anchoring and kind of shifting our winds from the southeast to the northwest, or sorry, from the southeast to the northeast. So you can see that dip there in the winds. That'll really get that atmosphere potentially spinning. So we'll have to watch out there for that overall. But I tell you what, man, that is actually really concerning. Let's look at our... Whoa, dude. Quite a dew point pool as well. Oh my gosh. We're talking like 80-degree dew points out there in some areas. Sorry, I'm just in awe of what's going on in Minnesota, dude. That amount of instability plus that rich of moisture in our lower atmosphere, that is just absolutely crazy. Let's see here. But anyways, let's see. It says 7,700 CAPE on the sounding. Yeah, I saw 6,000, which that's a lot. That's excessive instability at that point. Yeah, that's very excessive overall. Let's see here. Jay's story. Do I think there could be 10% chance of tornadoes? Probably not. You know, that MCS is going to be relatively limited to the area it covers, I think. I don't think a 10% would be needed. I think the 5, at least for now, is good, and I believe that's probably where we should stand. Like I was mentioning, you know, as we approach our way here, let me turn on the time here for you guys so y'all can see that. But you know, as we work our way down in time here, you can see how, you know, it's maybe a couple showers, you know, maybe a couple storms maybe forming out throughout this afternoon. But you know, once you roll into the evening here, that's when the things start blowing up. Especially out there by like Minneapolis, you know, that's kind of where it all begins, according to the HRRR here, which is a high resolution model run here, showing, yeah, right there, kind of starting near Minneapolis. You know, like I said, this is an MCS, basically just a big cluster of severe weather. You can kind of see it bowing there too. You know, that's that bowing segment. Which, you know, typically when you see those bowing segments like that, that could definitely support some really strong winds, and that's probably what we're going to end up seeing later on tonight here. Is that you can see that advances to the southeast out there, you know, going from basically southeastern Minnesota, shooting straight into Wisconsin here. that's at this point in time. We're at 3 o'clock a.m. Central Time, which is 4 Eastern. But overall, I mean, yeah, it goes through Milwaukee. I'm not too sure how long this thing's gonna last, but it looks like it's got some potential there to be quite a long-lived MCS here. So we'll have to definitely be watching that. Let me actually bring y'all over here to another model. This one I kind of want to look at here. I do need to switch it away from the tropics, though. There's actually nothing really going on in the tropics right now, so we're kind of good from that for the moment being. But yeah, let's hop y'all over here for a minute to the NAM 3K. This is the North American model. It's another high resolution model run. Wow, dude! Holy cow! That agrees with that does agree very well with the HRRR, showing a massive MCS that forms there, and just, dude, we might have a potential derecho on our hands here. Dude, that just cuts through the entire state of Wisconsin. So yeah, if you're in Wisconsin in general, yeah, prepare for quite a night of storms. The good news is that with these type of events here, once you get yourself through that storm, once that initial wall hits you, and once the storm kind of passes through you, and once you're on the backside of it, your potential of severe weather drastically drops. So that's good. So it's only one round for most people. But wow, dude, I'm just in shock. Now the NAM 3K kind of shows it starting, while the HRRR showed that group of thunderstorms starting over like Minneapolis there. The NAM 3K has it actually sparking off maybe a little bit earlier there, in which kicks off the storms up there towards like west central Minnesota actually. But dude, that's just that is just one unbelievable thing. And also, one thing to watch, guys, is also that nose, that top part of that MCS. That honestly could be a pretty good spot where you could see some tornadoes, possibly some a couple spin ups out there on that northern edge. Sometimes that can happen. It's just kind of typical with these type of systems overall. So that is something we might need to watch up there towards like Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin. I think actually, you know what? They don't even have a tornado probability up there. But honestly, if this is the way that this would play out, I would probably think that that might need to be expanded a little more to the north, because the current tornado outlook here basically cuts it off there just slightly north of Wausau, Wisconsin. Out there for the northern sides, that's where that tornado threat kind of drops. The SPC has our main threat for tornadoes, just being out here. I can actually pull up that same model we just looked at on that other page on this screen. So let's go ahead and do that here. In which, yeah, you can actually you'll see what I'm talking about. How the NAM model here shows, some of that northern edge being up there, and that's where some tornadic activity can come, out of an event like this. But yeah, starting a little bit earlier up there, it's just a bunch of thunderstorms there overall. And it rolls through, like St. Paul, basically Minneapolis here, right around, just before midnight, maybe slightly just before midnight here, maybe around like 10 o'clock or so, 10 o'clock p.m., obviously. So that would be a post-sunset event for you. So a lot of this is going to be a nighttime event, unfortunately, for tonight. So that's just going to make it a little more concerning. I mean, you won't be able to see much of anything going on there. That is just wow. Like I said, I'm just kind of blown away by all these these parameters that I've been seeing with the system here. Let's see here. I'm trying to find here. Let's hop back over to HRRR real quickly. I think HRRR has it. Yeah, here we go. 10-meter wind gusts. I'm curious to see what the HRRR picks up on that later on today. That's ought to be pretty significant. Well, doesn't show it too crazy. It's pretty low. Let's see here. 50 knots. This is probably not the best way of doing things here. But overall, I mean, like I said, from SPC, we do have that significant risk out there for damaging winds. So it definitely looks like we're going to have potential of those damaging winds being in excess of potentially 80 miles an hour. So we'll definitely see how that goes on, or how that plays out, I should say. Let's see here. Nikki says, I just want a little more rain. Indiana. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Indiana will probably ultimately get some of this here. Depends on where in Indiana, but, ultimately we probably could get some of that precipitation eventually rolling through there. Here, I'm going to go ahead and hop y'all back over here to these models again here. Let me pull up our lower level. Yeah, look at... that is honestly incredible. We have that... literally just a strong low develops and just a very solid MCS out there. I wish I could zoom in a little further, but yeah, you can see those winds there really wrapping up out there by this evening. So honestly, as I always typically try to mention here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this for y'all as a bit of a heads up to my folks out in this region here. Let me go ahead and hop y'all over here. So for the people throughout Wisconsin, honestly, in general, if you live in Wisconsin, honestly, if you live in like central and like southeastern Minnesota, what I want you to do today before nighttime is, if you have anything loose outside, like plants or like lawn furniture that could easily be tossed around, because, these are going to be some pretty strong winds, y'all. I want y'all to prepare for them. If you have any of that stuff outside, bring it indoors until tomorrow morning, and once tomorrow morning comes through, once those storms are out, you can put the stuff back out there. The reason I'm saying that is because, like I said, there's a possibility that, there could be some near tornadic-like wind speeds on this line today, or this MCS today. There's definitely going to be a capability of some really, really strong winds out of this system here. And, that netted area there that you see with the little dotted lines in it, that is our hatch risk. That is our significant risk that we have out there. And that's basically where we are seeing the greatest threat for damaging winds. That's the area we're expecting winds to be possibly in excess of 80 miles an hour. So, if you're in that region, that does include like areas, Minneapolis. It does include like Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Like Madison, Wisconsin. Some of those regions out there. In that general area throughout like central, southern, even I'd say northern Wisconsin. Just if you have anything that's loose outside, bring it indoors until obviously the event is over with overall. Let's see here. What's my thoughts on tomorrow's severe weather? Haven't really looked at it too much. I know we have a slight risk tomorrow. Let me pull this up real quickly. Tomorrow we do got a slight risk out there. This is going to be a continuation of severe weather out there towards, like Missouri, and obviously like Illinois, Indiana, portions of Kansas and Nebraska, Iowa. There's a 2% tornado risk tomorrow, 15% wind, 15% sig hail up there in eastern Nebraska. So tomorrow there could be some big hail in eastern Nebraska. Not anything comparing to today. Like I said, today we have that enhanced risk for today. 5% chance for tornadoes out across Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota, with that tornado threat going all the way down, even towards like Chicago area and northwestern portions of Indiana. Damaging winds, that's like one of the main leading concerns for today. Where we have that 30% hatch risk out there for those really strong winds, like I was mentioning here. So that's where we're going to have those really big winds. And of course, hail, we do have a hatch risk for hail too. That's going to be a little bit more to the northwest than those areas that were in that hatch wind threat. The hail threat's going to be up to the northwest out there towards a lot of Minnesota and western Wisconsin and eastern North Dakota. That's going to be the region here where we have some pretty large hail, once again 2 inches in diameter, being a possibility. Then that's tomorrow's threat we have there. And of course here, working our way into Wednesday, now I got a little bit more of a northeast, mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Midwest threat. Kind of a long potential of some, isolated severe weather on Wednesday across those areas there. So we will keep an eye on it as, time progresses, of course. And as we get some more information and all that stuff, we will let you all know. Anyways, let's go and take a quick little look at the radar right now. We're going to take a look and see what's going on. We got a couple severe warnings up in eastern North Carolina. Got a couple little severe thunderstorm warnings out here. I don't think any of these are exceeding 60 miles an hour. Yeah, this one's for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter hail out in eastern North Carolina towards Grifton and Hookerton. I got another one to the northeast towards Washington and Simpson. This one's for also 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter hail. And when it comes to the areas north of that towards Windsor, I got another severe warning just for 60-mile-an-hour winds. So we're kind of on the lower end scale of the severe weather threat right now. If you're in those warnings, just stay indoors, stay away from windows, and everything should just pass on by with no problems, little to no problems. There could be some minor damages, with 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but it's not going to be anything excessive. So just stay indoors. We don't want you outside during any of these guys overall. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on down there. Let's hop down a little further south. Let's see what's going on up in like South Carolina. Got a couple cells. Got a couple cells firing off out there. These guys ain't currently severe, just a current little group of some showers and storms out across like central kind of eastern portions of South Carolina. Currently nothing severe. They do have a severe risk today. They do include that marginal today, that level 1 severe weather threat. So a couple isolated severe storms are possible out here, but nothing super crazy. Tornado probs, none. We're not expecting any tornadoes today up there in North and South Carolina today, so we're good with tornadoes. Don't worry about that out there. Damaging winds, yeah, that's kind of where we have the main concern for today. That is the main concern for these areas today. Damaging winds, once again, 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts in the range of kind of what we're expecting. And whenever it comes to the hail threat, just a small little hail threat, mostly for like eastern North Carolina, as well as a little sliver of southeastern Virginia out there by Norfolk and Virginia Beach does include that there too. So overall, that's kind of what we are, kind of what we're talking about with that risk out there. But that is definitely interesting. So anyways, y'all, we're going to go ahead and hop on back over here again. I'm kind of curious to hop back to the models here to look at what the HRRR has to say here. So as we approach later on this evening, so all models tend to agree on this big pool of like really high dew points. There's going to be a lot of moisture with this storm out there. There's going to be a lot of moisture for the storm. That's going to have a lot of moisture supply to it. And like we were mentioning between all the models here, dude, I'm still blown away by this. But the models are showing instability, possibly in excess of 5,000 joules per kilogram. Once again, for severe weather, we minimum typically from what I've noticed, you only need anywhere around like 500 joules per kilogram. Typically want it above 1,000 just for nice organized severe weather. But we're having 5,000, potentially higher out here, which that's just wow. All models do support that too, like the RAP. That was the HRRR. Here's the RAP model showing, nearly 6,000 joules per kilogram. NAM, the North American model, this one's showing the same thing. NAM Nest, or NAM 3K basically, still showing that. So all models do support, 5,000 plus joules per kilogram of instability. That's our fuel we're talking about. There is a lot of energy out there. And then this guy just really kicks off out there, which is pretty incredible. Here's our 0 to 3 kilometer SRH. There's just even that's like maximized, 600 plus. Yeah, we're gonna have the potential for a couple tornadoes on that line. I definitely do think. And like I was mentioning, the unfortunate thing is the fact that this is mostly going to be playing out at nighttime. Which is going to make it very difficult to see if anything's going to happen. So, like I said, if you're in this region, if you don't have a weather radio, I'd recommend possibly getting one if you can run to Walmart or something. Just go pick up a weather radio. They're like $30, and they'll give you warnings for your area. You can program them for your specific county, or you can just leave it on for all warnings that come through, which that's kind of what I do with mine. But, when it comes to it, yeah, that would be recommended. That way you guys can receive warnings. I'm going to be live for this later on, too. Like I said, I'm going to be splitting today's lives up into 2 different parts. We're going to do this live stream, which will be kind of more of an update and some small coverage up in the southeast right now. And later on today, we'll do full coverage mode on this MCS thunderstorm here, which according to the models and everything, we're going to hop y'all back over here. But according to the models, like the HRRR and all that stuff, we're pretty much, starting to see that activity starting off, just after sunset. We're talking like maybe 8 o'clock Central is whenever those storms are going to possibly start firing off overall out there. Really tracks its way to the southeast here, really picks up in some intensity. Minneapolis could get hit pretty good by that storm according to the latest HRRR here, heading there through Eau Claire, maybe around 11 p.m. or so. That's in Wisconsin, heading up there towards Wassaw Marshfield area, possibly between right around midnight or so. This is just an estimate, by the way, y'all. Madison, right roughly maybe around the 4 o'clock a.m. Milwaukee, 4 o'clock a.m. Central Time. So that is essentially what we're going to see. This is going to be a long track storm, and this will even work its way throughout like western Michigan, possibly right around like 4 or 5 o'clock a.m. Central Time. Which, this is going to be quite a long-lived line. And once again, the main concerns on this guy is going to be, like I said, the main concern on this guy is going to be, damaging winds, potentially 80-plus miles an hour out there. That's one of the things we got to really look out there for is, potential tornadic-like wind speeds, on that line of storms overall. So that is the main thing. There's a bit of potential for significant hail. Once that storm really starts going, I think that's when we're going to have our greatest hail threat. Whenever that MCS starts to develop, I think that's where we're going to have the greatest potential for hail. And then, of course, as we progress and as the system here starts to mature and it starts to really shape itself into that bow we were talking about, that big MCS here. At that point, it's gonna materialize more into the damaging wind realm, and still pretty large hail, but it transitions as a start for, I think, mostly significant hail, then turning into more of a significant wind threat. So it's going to start off high as hail, and then as we progress, it's going to change up to damaging winds. As the system progresses its way to the southeast here. And at that same time as the winds become a little bit more of a problem, same, I think, will tornadoes too. Once again, according to some of the models here, like the RAP and the NAM and all those kind of short range models here, which we'll go ahead and hop on back for. The models, they do support somewhat of a decent lower level jet. We're talking maybe 40, 45 knots in some areas of lower level winds across our lower atmosphere, which that's very important for tornadic activity. We do have ourselves a little bit of a surface low out there towards Minnesota. You can see a bit of a dip, a little bit of a trough here, kind of a little micro trough. I think that's still macro scale, but you can kind of see it's just a little itty bitty guy that really kicks up there a bunch of some strong wind shear in our lower atmosphere across areas just south of that main MCS, and that's going to feed that MCS with some pretty strong lower level winds, in which overall that's going to allow for once again, the potential of some potentially strong tornadoes. I think I'm not too sure about how significant they're going to be, but I think we have the potential of some strong tornadoes today. So that's something that we're going to really need to be watching out for as well. Especially with the nighttime concern, like we were mentioning. With it being nighttime and all, it just makes it much more dangerous. And like I was saying, instability, thunderstorm fuel-wise, we do have ourselves, over nearly 6,000 joules per kilogram, according to some models here. All models, really. HRRR, RAP, NAM Nest, all four of the models we looked at for our short range does support this altogether, that we're going to see a lot of unstable air out there. And I'm going to grab another sounding from RAP here, just to kind of show you guys what we're talking about here. So yeah, like I was mentioning, a lot of instability. This whole area, very, very fat cape here. Like I said, we're having some really, really, really tall, really high end lapse rates. We're talking a 9.3 degrees Celsius, degree drop over a kilometer range. So we're talking some really steep lapse rates. And like I was mentioning, our D cape, which are downwards or downdraft cape, being very high itself. I've seen some soundings, over 1,400 joules per kilogram. That's going to really contribute to those strong, damaging winds. That's basically a lot of our instability in our downdrafts, which it's going to smack the surface with those strong winds, and it's going to really allow for some pretty strong winds to occur. Out in those regions. Yeah, look at that instability. Mixed layer is over 7,000. That is incredible. And also our dew points there is over 80, or right around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That is just, wow. A lot of moisture, a lot of instability. Wind shear is meh. It's okay. It's not too bad, especially south of that MCS. We get that amplification of those lower level winds, which that will allow for, some of that tornadic concern to really start to put in play. But yeah, soundings like that is definitely a little concerning. Let me try a NAM sounding again. Let's actually pop one out there towards. Those look pretty capped. Let me try if I can get one near Minneapolis here. Let's try. Okay, this is right around. This is 7 Zulu. MCS will probably be past by then. Let's see here. Let me try back NAM. We'll attempt for a sounding near Minneapolis here, maybe the western side. It'll probably be capped out, but we know that will eventually break through. Yeah, a lot of instability. Once again, same thing overall, man. We are talking really high end D cape or downwards energy there. We do have that cap there according to the sounding, but very, very steep lapse rates there. And tons of instability. Also, that hodograph. I mean, look at that curvature. See that kind of pirate hook look to it? Whenever you see a pirate hook look on your hodograph, that represents that there is some turn in some spin in our lower atmosphere. So as we get a storm that develops, which is this MCS, this will allow for potential spin to kick off in the atmosphere, which would lead to some supercell activity and some tornado potential. But yeah, it's definitely pretty high. And our SRH, storm relative helicity, basically measuring that rotating updraft potential, that really does pick up once we progress near midnight or so. That really does amplify. So, like I said, unfortunately, there's going to be some nighttime tornadic concerns. That's mostly what I'm a little concerned about, to be honest with you guys. It's between the damaging winds and that nocturnal tornado threat. I'm going to have to initiate some live coverage for a while for you guys tonight overall. Let's see here. Deb says, I just joined. I have no idea what's going on and where. What state are we watching? So the states tonight, we're really watching like central Minnesota heading into Wisconsin. And also eventually heading in there towards Michigan later tonight. Once again, this is going to be mostly a nocturnal event, meaning that this is going to be mostly a nighttime event. But yeah, the area is impacted, which we'll go and hop back over here. We're going to, hold on, we're going to hop over here to our NAM 3K model. So according to the NAM 3K, which, they're all pretty much in sync with one another. But yeah, you can kind of see just this big line of storms firing off, and I'll go and turn on the time for you guys up above. So that's right around 10 o'clock. So this is Eastern time that's projected, so just subtract an hour and you'll get local time here. But yeah, we're talking like 10 o'clock p.m. here. Just really bows out there. Just a very, very nasty line of storms, once again, capable of producing some, strong winds, possibly, 80 plus out there. So some really, really strong winds will be a concern on that storm there overall. And also, some large hail there too. And even, like I said, some tornadic activity will be a bit of a problem. There's also the possibility that we could get a couple storms also firing out there towards Nebraska. Yeah, these guys ain't going to be as much of a problem as obviously this big guy up here is going to be. So we'll have to, we're going to do coverage on this tonight overall. Y'all, give me 1 second. I will be right back. I have to run real quickly. Give me like 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Y'all don't go anywhere. This will be a good time to grab a snack and something to eat. We'll be right back with the update. Hold on 1 second, y'all. All right, y'all, we're back. Had to take a quick, quick break real quickly. Anyways, y'all, let's go and hop on back into what we were talking about. But yeah, so like I was mentioning though, definitely will be quite a kicker of a storm tonight. We're gonna have to. I'm thinking about going live here probably around maybe 8 o'clock or so Eastern time. To cover this part. So, like I said, this live stream was kind of more of an update, a little bit of coverage we're going to do here still for Eastern North Carolina. I'm not heading off yet, but I'm just saying that, this live stream is going to be a little bit of coverage for, like North Carolina. We got a couple severe storms out right now. These guys ain't really, anything super wild. Just mostly just ranging some wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour overall. So, with that being said, got a couple of wind gusts out there. Also a little threat for some hail today. Nothing greater really than an inch and a half. I don't think will be expected today. So just a little bit of storms out there right now for the people wondering. Let's see here. Jackie says we don't usually have nighttime bad weather. I'm grabbing coffee. I won't be sleeping one bit tonight. Yeah, I hear you, my friend. Like I said, tonight definitely has some potential to be quite a strong storm here. And once again, like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, whenever it comes to this storm here, right? So whenever it comes to it for tonight, if you live out there in Wisconsin and portions like Minnesota, like we were mentioning, if you have anything loose outside, such as like lawn furniture, or if you have like any like plants or anything out there, if you guys could bring those in now or sometime soon before sunset tonight, just to kind of prevent those being blown around and potentially destroyed or damaged, because we don't want that. We definitely don't want that, and we want you guys to be early prepared and be weather aware. So now would be a great time to to prepare on this here. Is this this is the 12 Zulu here. Let's go back up to the 18 Zulu. This is the latest and greatest run starting to come through. Yeah, this one also shows that that storm activity starting near Minneapolis overall. Let's see here. What's up, Overbuilt? Hope you're doing good, man. Hope you are doing fine. We're going to actually hop back to the 17 Zulu. This is the latest one here. Yeah, so you can really see that storm starting to pick up here. This will be right around 8 o'clock Central Time. This will be for right around 8 o'clock for you guys. So we're going to start to get those storms firing off near, potentially Minneapolis near right around 8 o'clock or so. That's when we were planning to go live to cover this. As we roll in the way up to 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like I said, this thing is likely going to be a long tracked storm here. This system here is likely going to be quite long tracked, and like I said, I personally think this thing could turn out to be a derecho here. Straight line winds, potentially some really strong damaging winds out of this, and just the longevity of those, potential of winds and stuff like that. I mean, this thing's going to be capable of producing damaging winds pretty much all the way from, like, central Minnesota. Actually, even a little higher up north is where the risk is. All the way from Minnesota, really, going through the entire state of Wisconsin and into Michigan here. That is a very far distance, and that's going to be happening overnight. So that's going to be a nighttime threat, which, like I said, this is a little concerning. That's kind of what has me a little bit concerned, is the fact that these storms here is going to be at nighttime, which makes it a little bit harder to see anything that's going on and all that stuff. So let's see here. I'm more framed by our garbage cans. I got to put those cans out tonight. Hopefully they don't end up down the street. Yeah, that is kind of a problem. Yeah, trash night plus storms rolling through. Of course, out of all nights, out of all nights, man. Now that is definitely that's a tough situation there. Let's just hope they don't go flying. Once again, these winds out here are going to be like potentially nearly tornadic like winds. That's why we have here. We'll hop on back. That's why we have that hatch risk from the Storm Prediction Center. That's why we have this big netted area here. That's where we are seeing, potentially those winds being pretty high up there. And then this does include like Minneapolis in that hatch risk. That's where we're talking those really strong winds. So like Minneapolis, St. Paul area, Wausau, Wisconsin, Madison, Milwaukee. Overall, that's kind of what we're seeing here. Let's see. Mostly Machine says we're still cleaning up from the tornado that hit Rock County Saturday here in Wisconsin. Gotcha. Well, like I said, hopefully everything's going good with that. Like I said, this is a little bit interesting of a setup here. I'm not gonna lie, especially once I saw like the amount of potential instability in our atmosphere here today. That's a little concerning. So hopping back up to that, so yeah, according to the models like the HRRR, as well as like the Rapid NAM, there is a possibility we could have those instability values here, right around the time of this thing starting, being over 5,000 joules per kilogram. So for example, to put that in perspective, like I was mentioning earlier, you typically only need about 1,000 plus for like a really organized severe weather event to take place. 500 and slightly lower can sometimes produce severe weather. We're talking over 5,000. So there's a lot of instability in our atmosphere, and it's not just one model either. Like the HRRR shows it there. You can see for yourself in Minnesota here, right around 8 o'clock Central Time, which is whenever things are going to start to potentially fire off. So right around 8 o'clock, we get a lot of instability out there. According to the HRRR RAP model, you can see this model as well shows nearly 6,000 joules per kilogram. The NAM model, which is the North American model, this one shows same thing, widespread 5,000 joules per kilogram. Lastly, the NAM Nest, NAM 3 kilometer, basically, showing that same thing. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, just the amount of instability we have. And also another thing that's a little concerning is just, how rich these dew points are at too. I mean, we are seeing some pretty high dew points down there. I mean, we're talking upper 70-degree dew points. Typical severe weather event, 60s plus is pretty good. Some models are supporting those dew points being in the 80s. So that is going to be very muggy, very, 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 very muggy conditions out there for some of those regions up in Minnesota, heading into Wisconsin. Just ahead of that line, you are going to notice that it's going to be very, very muggy. You're going to immediately know a relief once that system rolls through. Though overall, you're going to immediately know a little bit of a relief as the temperatures will slightly drop just a little bit. Once that system rolls through, and the humidity overall will drop a bit. Will definitely drop a bit. So that'll be good. But just know it's going to be a little brutal with the temperatures ahead of time overall. Let's see here. Tabletop. It'll be later on this evening. Yeah, models, they do show those storms popping off across North Carolina like pretty much all evening. Let's see here. KDGF says, how's the tornado probability today? Yeah, so we got ourselves a 5%. Let's go ahead and hop y'all back over here real quickly to today's tornado probability. So that's another thing. Some tornadoes will be possible today. Because the models, as we have this MCS here rolling through, the models, they do have some amplified lower level winds across some of these areas here, which could be in excess of 40 knots overall, which that could support some potentially strong tornadic activity out there for today. I definitely do think that there could be some strong tornadoes. Obviously in this region here, the 5%. Could be some tornadoes also elsewhere in the green areas. The black areas are non-tornadic areas. But yeah, so those lower level winds, though, like I was mentioning here, is going to really pick up, as the system really starts to develop. Because basically the way this is working here is we have ourselves an area of low pressure behind that MCS there, and that's actually creating a little bit of a dip in the jet stream. So basically we're getting a bit of arced wind shear that's allowing for the winds to change directions rapidly in our lower atmosphere and also mid-atmosphere as well, which that'll allow for some spin to potentially occur inside of this line. Now, another thing you got to consider whenever you're tracking, these tornadoes in an event like this, such as a squall line or like an MCS type of ordeal. You can see this big bowing line here. Another thing you got to really consider overall, guys, is basically inside of this line. That's where you can have these little areas of rotation, and that's where the tornadoes will likely kick off. Would be inside of that heavy precipitation out there, which would make things a little bit hard to ultimately see. Not to mention it's nighttime, you can't see anything, but also the fact that it's going to be potentially rain wrapped. Tornadic activity as well, meaning that the tornadoes have curtains of rain wrapped around them, which obscures visibility even during the daytime. Plus nighttime, it makes it literally impossible to see. So do not try to see any tornadoes tonight. If you're going out there to try to find or look for a tornado, you're probably not going to see it, because it's going to be A, obscured by rain, and B, also nighttime, meaning it won't be anything to see. So that's why we need to be extra alert tonight. Like I said, if you get a tornado warning, you got to immediately act. Do not go outside. Do not sit on your porch like I know a lot of people do. No, you got to go inside. You got to go in your shelter. Obviously, basement if you have it, central low portion of your home. That's where you want to go. Like I said, you don't want to mess with the storms tonight, for sure. These are definitely storms that you can't really see too much. Radar can see what's going on through them because they can puncture through the storm. So we'll have to rely mostly on radar visibility today to kind of see what's going on, with the storm here. Luckily, I think we do have a lot of good coverage with radars today. For example, we have La Crosse radar here. We also have St. Paul. We also have Milwaukee. So there's a long trail of radars in the area here today. So that's going to be good, meaning that we are going to have some good coverage, some good radar coverage today of the storm. So we're gonna have some pretty good eyes on the storm. So don't let that no visibility thing worry you too much. Like I said, we have ways of seeing what's going on in the storm, so don't worry. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, I do plan on going live around 8 o'clock, so if you guys haven't already, consider subscribing and turning that notification on. That way you guys will be alerted whenever I do go live for live coverage. It could be potentially life-saving, so it would also help us out a bunch if you guys could do that. So hit that subscribe button and leave a like. I would much appreciate that, y'all. And like I said, it'll go a long way with helping not only you, but also people out as well. So once again, thank y'all. So anyways, we're going to hop on back over here to, I'm curious to see what the wrap model has to present here for precipitation-wise. So let me go ahead and bring this up for you guys. So reflectivity here. So according to the wrap, it's kind of it's a lower resolution model, so it's not going to look as spiffy as some of these other model runs, but same idea, man. Overnight we're going to have this kind of line of storms roll through here, and potentially cause some really strong winds, with a lot of instability that's going to be available out there. That's one thing. And like I was mentioning before, guys, is that we're going to have ourselves this little trough here. So basically, right around whenever this event starts. So it'll be starting up in here around this time. This is, right here for, I think this is like 10 o'clock Central Time. So this will be right around 10 o'clock Central for you guys. We're going to have ourselves, a little bit of a dip here. So we have a little bit of a trough kicking off there. But what that's going to end up doing, like I was mentioning here, is that's going to allow for, those winds to be amplified. And those winds are going to be pretty strong, and they're going to be turning too. As you can see, they're coming down from the south, or coming down from the north, going to the south, and then they quickly change directions, going to the east, and then northeast, and then so you can see it's kind of looping there, in which that rapid change in winds, wind direction and stuff like that, could create that spin in our lower atmosphere here. So that's going to be something that could be a little problematic later on tonight. Let's see here. Haunted says, Andrew, did I see on radar storms popping off in eastern Nebraska tonight? I think models did pick up, a little bit of storm activity out there. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, though. Let me hop over to the models for you to take a look at that. Let's see. We'll pull up our HRRR 18 Zulu run. It's our fresh new run coming through. So it does have a few storms out there in Nebraska today, starting off actually west to east. They should die out before hitting Omaha, though. even Lincoln, more towards like the central and western side of Nebraska, is probably when we're going to have some of the storms fire off out there. Then, of course, with this big guy, we're going to start to have those storms fire off right around the clock, or right around 8 o'clock Eastern. This is 8 o'clock Central, which this is 9 Eastern here. And we're going to start to see that storm activity fire off here, possibly some pretty large hail around that time, too. Holy cow. Dude. Yeah, HRRR is not going light with that hail probability there. That reflectivity was showing nearly 80 dBz out there. That's not observed, of course. That's just radar, or that's just, future radar or the weather models. But yeah, so then we're going to progress our way down in time. So right around midnight, according to this model here, we'll be just shy southeast of Minneapolis, starting to really head in there towards, like central, kind of north central Wisconsin. And of course, as we further progress our way down in time, right around like 2 o'clock a.m., we'll be right there towards like central Wisconsin, near Stevens Point. You can see out there towards the cross potentially. Just a really long line of some storm activity. And, on that line, like I was saying, given our risk and stuff like that, there's going to be that shot. Our winds are going to be significant down here. There's going to be that shot for damaging winds being potentially 80 miles an hour and stronger. So that is part of the main concern, is those winds. And of course, there could be some hail, once that storm activity starts to kick off there, whenever that, depending on where, because, like I believe it was the NAM model showed the storm starting off up here, kind of in like west central Minnesota, starting off, once that initial storms start to fire off, they're likely going to immediately start producing some very large hail. That's the way I think it's going to play out. I think it's going to immediately start producing some large hail, and then as the system grows, and as we start to really form into that MCS, or that big Boeing storm, once we get to that point, that is when I think that we're going to start to have, those damaging winds start to take over. Now, there will likely still be some really large hail in that line at that point, but I think it's going to initially start off, like I said, is some really large hail, then transition mostly to wind damage, or damaging winds, and then, of course, some hail will still likely continue. It just depends on where that MCS starts, because some of the models have it happening up here, and some of the models happen down here, so they basically just highlighted that entire area just to keep everybody in that area alert of what the potential could be. But yes, in terms of damaging winds, models are pretty on point about the damaging winds really kicking up there across like southeastern Minnesota, places out there in central and southern Wisconsin, even like northern Illinois there, towards Chicago. Could get some pretty strong winds up in that region there. So that is something to also look out there for. Let's see here. Matthew says it's going to be a long day and night. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it does look like we're going to have a long night ahead of us. Like I said, we're gonna do coverage tonight. We're gonna make sure we're here to cover this, guys. Once again, plan on us being live right around 8 o'clock Eastern, so that'll be 7 Central, just before these models really have these storms kicking off. I want to catch it before things start happening. That way we can go through it. So we'll see. Let's see, Matthew, dude, thank you so much, man, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that, dude. Saying, do I think the ratio too? I think it has a possibility of being, considering how long-lived, this system is, expected to be, kicking off out there potentially from northwestern, Minnesota, going all the way through Wisconsin, and even into like eventually, kind of slowing down and stopping out there towards like, Michigan. That's, with that being said, I do think there is potential for a derecho because, considering how significant these winds could be on this storm as well, as this storm rolls through tonight, considering how potentially significant that could be, and you can just see how long-lived that is. I mean, we start up there potentially up in, like some models were saying, west central Minnesota, and going all the way down there, even past Chicago, down there towards like north central, kind of northwestern Indiana there. For example, that's over that's nearly 700 miles of distance there, and that that's going to be taking place over overnight for several hours too. So it's going to be quite a long system. It's going to be mostly a nighttime system. The system's expected to kind of die out right around sunrise, believe it or not. So all throughout tonight, we're going to see likely a bit of severe weather ongoing out there. So. we will we'll definitely we'll see. Let's see here. Will there be severe weather in Grand Rapids, Michigan? So I'm not entirely too sure where Grand Rapids is. I'm not too familiar with these areas up here, but we do have the potential late tonight for some of that severe activity to impact western and central portions of Michigan. The upper portion of Michigan there too is in that severe weather threat. So, yeah, we will likely be seeing the potential for some damaging storms out there. Maybe some gusty winds mostly. I don't think there's much of a tornado threat out there in Michigan. I think we might have a 2% just shyly to the west of Michigan. Yeah, we got a little 2% region out there in far southwestern Michigan. Unlikely we'll see any tornadoes today in Michigan, but when it comes to Wisconsin, that's a little bit more of a different story. That's where we have another up level for tornadic activity. From St. Paul to Milwaukee, there is a chance that we could have a couple tornadoes today. And considering the models are showing us, guys, and how as time progresses, once that MCS starts kicking off, and we're gonna have some amplified lower level winds. That's going to be increasing to right around 40 knots, potentially 45 knots. And that'll allow for, the possibility out there for, maybe even some strong tornadoes, just considering that those winds are expected to amplify as we do have a little bit of a trough, a little bit of a mini trough kicking off out there towards, Minnesota and some of those regions out there overall. So that is, that's what we need to also take into consideration is, not just the winds, but also potentially nocturnal tornadoes. One, it's being nighttime, and two, like we were mentioning before, those tornadoes out of an event like this, those tornadoes get wrapped in rain, so the tornadic activity is going to be like inside of the heavy rain, which is what we call rain-wrapped tornadoes. So basically these curtains of rain wrap around the tornado, basically even during the daytime, obscuring the view. So you add rain-wrapped tornadoes plus, nighttime. It's don't plan on seeing any tornadoes out there. Like I said, we got to strictly rely off of radar indications and all that tonight. Just considering that visibility and being able to see this. So do not even think about sitting on your porch and watching this if you're in a tornado warning. No, this is a storm I wouldn't even recommend being outside for because, how strong those winds could potentially get. And, like I was saying, if you live in Wisconsin, just in general, because like this storm is going to be impacting pretty much the entire state of Wisconsin tonight. It's going to start to infiltrate Wisconsin, just before midnight there, and it should be out of Wisconsin right around like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. With that being said, it's going to be, impacting most of the state. And what I would recommend, like I was telling you guys, if you have any plants, if you have any outdoor furniture that could easily be blown around, bring those in before tonight. Don't forget to do that because you don't want your property getting damaged or destroyed for one, but you also don't want your property going flying through your neighbor's house through their windows or anything like that. So make sure if there's any loose things outside that you got hanging around on your porch or anywhere outside that could easily be tossed around in some strong winds, just bring them indoors. Make sure that they are there until the storm passes. Then, of course, put it back out there. But just looking out for you guys. Just kind of giving y'all some things that you probably wouldn't think about. So recommend bringing those stuff indoors out there. Just until the time being of tomorrow. So as soon as you wake up, put it right back out there. Let's see here. Detroit is okay, no severe. Yeah, Detroit is fine. There's just a little general thunderstorm threat for today. So yeah, should be good. Definitely think it's gonna be a last minute upgrade to a moderate. I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm not affiliated with the Storm Prediction Center, so I really can't tell you if it's gonna become a moderate or not. That's up to them. But given what I've seen on the models and stuff like that, I wouldn't rule out that possibility. With how strong, just in general of how much instability is in the atmosphere and how much downwards forcing there's going to be on those storms. That's going to really allow for some real strong winds, and I think it's going to be highly concentrated too. If the storm kind of plays out to what the model we were just looking at, or the models we're looking at here, kind of suggest it might. I think we're going to have some really high concentrated damaging winds throughout a lot of these areas here. through a lot of Wisconsin. I think that's where a lot of the wind damage is going to be potentially at. It's going to start, like I said, in Minnesota, track its way, and right around midnight, it'll start working its way near Wisconsin, roughly around midnight or so. Depends on the model you look at. Some of the models are still a little in disagreement mode, but the overall verdict is there of this MCS forming, of this big line of storms rolling through. And like I was saying, this thing's going to be impacting the majority of Wisconsin. So, a lot of Wisconsin's going to feel a pretty strong storm today. And you can see the borders there. The storms are all the way up in the northern borders, the southern borders, and it just kind of follows all the way around. Still getting some storms up there, and still really kicking off out there towards like that southern border. It's quite a long-lived system. That it is. Let's see here. So Michigan, yeah, so there is a potential for some damaging winds out in Michigan. Like I was mentioning here's our damaging wind threat. We do have the possibility for portions of central and western Michigan of seeing some damaging wind gusts. So that is a possibility, my friends. But yeah, the main thing, the main winds, we're not expecting them to be, as high up in Michigan as they're expected to be near Wisconsin. So, for example, some of the damaging winds that we could see up in Michigan would range probably between 60 and 70 miles an hour. And whenever it comes to the, the hatch risk area here, that significant risk area overall, that right there is, like I said, that area right there is where we are talking the potential, like I said, potentially 80 plus there overall. Let's see here. Velocity says, don't have to worry much about family. Don't have to worry much family in North Liberty, Iowa. Family doesn't look to be much of a threat. My family, Iowa appears to be too far south. Is that correct assumption? So Iowa, yeah, so portions of Iowa, it depends on what side you said. The northeastern side of Iowa does have the possibility of getting nicked by the storm here. We do have risks in place for northeastern Iowa. We do have that slight and a little bit of the enhanced risk that does infiltrate the eastern state. So there is a possibility that we could see some damaging winds out there. Perhaps an isolated tornado in northeastern Iowa could be possible. I'm not exactly sure where they're at. You said North Liberty. I'm not entirely sure where that's at, to be honest with you. Like I said, I'm not from these areas here. I'm not too familiar with them. But what I will say, and you should know relative to the map of where that's at, this is really concentrated for northeastern portions of Iowa. Now, the entire state of Iowa at least has a marginal risk. So there is a possibility for severe weather throughout even the western sides. But it is not going to be as significant, far from as significant as the weather is going to be further to the northeast up here. Like, for example, some of the models, they actually do end up showing, some of the models, they actually do end up showing, some cells actually developing out there, as you can see, in places like, southern Iowa, northwestern portions of Missouri, portions of Kansas and Nebraska. So we'll have to see. About that. But there is a possibility overall. Matthew, dude, coming in here with a $10 super chat, man. Thank you so much, dude. I greatly appreciate that. That is very, very sweet of you, Matthew. Thank you, dude. That'll go a long way with everything and help keep bills paid and stuff. So thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for the 10. You are awesome, dude. No, I don't think it'll be high risk. EJ, yeah, high risk I think is out of the question. Moderate for wind. I think it's on the table, but once again, I'm not entirely too sure overall. Roughly what time should Madison, Wisconsin expect something? So let's see here. Where's Madison? Oh, why am I looking at Michigan? Hold on. Sorry. So for Madison, it shows roughly maybe 2 to 4 a.m. Yeah, 2 to 4 a.m. is kind of when I'd expect that storm to roll through. That's according to NAM. Let me try HRRR here, Madison. It's obviously good to take a look at more than one model run, or more than one model. See, this model has it kind of going more to the northeast of you. Well, like the NAM, that's one of the big differences is the NAM. The first model we were looking at shows that storm going more for these areas, while this model has it more pushed upward to where it would probably just barely pass that area there. But yeah, roughly I'd say between 2 and 4. So Let's see. Troy says tomorrow severe weather outlook for Burlington, Iowa. So yeah, tomorrow we got ourselves a slight risk. Not as significant as today. We'll do an update on that tomorrow. We did one earlier. We'll do another update on that tomorrow. Whenever we get a little closer to tomorrow's event, we're just gonna mostly keep it all focused on this guy. Don't want to cause any confusion between the days, if that makes sense. Okay, thanks so much. No problem. My sister lives there, and I'm a night owl. While she isn't, I want to be able to alert her if possible. I hear you. I'm the same way, and no problem. You're very welcome, my friend. Of course, of course. All right, let's hop back to models. We're going to do a little bit more of analysis here. Going to take a look and see what we're talking about. So, but guys, if you haven't already, like I said, I don't ask for much on this channel. But if you could leave a like, maybe subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. And that would definitely mean a lot to me, and it will definitely help out other people as well by helping YouTube push us out a little further, which would ultimately help us out. So if you guys could do that, that would be much appreciated. So yeah, according to the model, so here's back to the NAM model here. So this one actually shows those storms firing off across, like I said, west central portions here of Minnesota. Like mentioned before, the amount of instability in the atmosphere is crazy. Once again, like typically, you want just right around, if not over 1,000 joules per kilogram is our fuel, our instability here. You typically want over 1,000, and we're seeing upwards of 5,000+ out there. So there's a lot of instability. There's a lot of energy in our atmosphere, and even to me, I've been forecasting for many years. This is a little concerning to me, seeing something of that magnitude. Even our supercell composites through the roof, as you can see there, it's just pretty strong. So yeah, so right as we approach our way over here, right around 8 o'clock roughly up here in Minnesota Central Time. This is Central Time Zone, so 8 o'clock roughly. That's when I really do think that we are going to be seeing ourselves, that activity starting to pop off there overall. Other models do support those high values as well. Here's the RAP model. We were looking at the NAM model. This is RAP here, and RAP is showing the same thing. Just over 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability. So once again, there is a lot of energy in our atmosphere tonight. For severe weather, and so that's potential energy. So that's what energy we could have available to us tonight overall. So that in itself is a little concerning on its own. So yeah, over 5,000 joules, maybe up to 6,000 according to some models there too. Our lower level winds are going to be increasing overnight, so you can kind of see this little dip here. This is a little bit of a surface low we have out there towards Minnesota. Let's hop down a little bit here. So you see that dip there, and what this is going to end up doing is this is actually going to be amplifying our winds. So we're going to have some pretty strong winds up here, lower level winds. I'm going to go ahead and mention this is our not quite surface, but lower atmosphere winds. So our lower atmosphere winds, we're going to be cranking about 40-45 knots, which typically in a severe weather event has the possibility, if other conditions are met, of producing some possible strong tornadic activity. I do think that will be a concern today. However, like I said, the tornado threat's not going to be across, the main tornado threat's not going to be across central Iowa. The main tornado threat's going to be up in kind of these regions here. So as we progress our way further down through the night, you can kind of see our winds in our lower atmosphere are going to increase. So that leads me to believe that, with everything going on, I do think at some point we will have the possibility later on, kind of middle, maybe later portion of the event here, we could start to see some potentially strong, if not an isolated violent tornado or two. Like I said, just considering if this played out, this is what the models are showing. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, definitely I think that some strong, strong tornadic activity could be a concern. Like I was mentioning with that little trough, that little surface low we have up in Minnesota, how it rapidly changes that wind direction, going from the southeast, shooting up to the kind of east-northeast here. So that rapid turn, it's like drifting. The wind's like drifting. And with it turning like that can actually create some spin in our lower atmosphere. And all it just takes is a thunderstorm, this line to lift up that spinning horizontal vortice, in which could flip up and potentially allow for some tornadoes to form. So bottom line, what you need to know is that the winds are strong in the lower atmosphere, and they are turning, which could create some spin and potentially tornadoes. That's all you really need to know. Our can't even talk. Our mid atmosphere here, pretty weak winds. Honestly, nothing super significant. We're gonna have some 50 knot most wind shear out there according to these models. Our mid-level winds, so our middle atmosphere at this point, not super strong winds, but enough to get things organized and potentially long-lived overall. So, with that being said, I mean, the winds are there. Definitely the instability is there. There's a lot of energy. So between the instability and between the winds, you have a lot of instability and a lot of those winds organizing and, keeping that storm long-lived. That is going to be something for tonight. And another thing that we mentioned is our high-end dew points. For severe weather events, you typically want your dew point range in the 60s. Anything above that is pretty high in moisture supply. So there's going to be a lot of moisture with this event here. So probably a lot of rainfall too. So we have some pretty high dew points out there. We're talking those dew points here in the mid upper 70s, maybe even peaking up there to the 80s in some spots there, according to some models. Like the WRAP in early hours, once those storms start firing off, the WRAP indicates possibly 80-degree dew points. That's very high in dew points. So one of the things you guys are going to notice, just before those storms really start going, is just how, just how warm it's going to be. It's going to be very muggy. It's going to be very muggy out there. You're going to notice that right off the bat. That it's going to be very muggy, very humid. But the good news is that once that line kind of passes through, things will improve a little bit. It might still be a little bit humid, but it's not going to be as bad as I think is whenever the event starts. As that humidity level will start to subside a little bit. But even then, it's still going to be a little brutal with the temperatures and the overall mugginess out there before the event and just before that kind of rolls through out there. So let's see here. Andrea, thank you so much for being a Cat 1 for 1 month. Appreciate it. Saying hello, Andrew, in chat. What's up, Andrea? I hope you're doing good, my friend. Thank you so much for your support. Greatly appreciate it. That is very sweet of you. Let's see here. Lily says, looks like Wisconsin's going to get hard. Yeah, Wisconsin, I think, is kind of one of the heavy hitters. That's kind of where that's the state that's probably going to take the most brunt force from this system. And like I said, not much areas in Wisconsin is going to be dodging this storm from what it looks like. I mean, it looks like a lot of Wisconsin, if not all of Wisconsin, will see some thunderstorm activity with that storm. Like we were mentioning, it's going to be happening. That storm is going to start to occur. It's going to start firing off here, late or kind of evening here for today. Just after sunset is kind of when we're expecting that. But yeah, as we approach our way towards midnight, we're going to have that heavy storm activity over possibly Minneapolis area there in Minnesota. And that's when it's going to transition from Minnesota over into Wisconsin, is probably sometime around midnight or so, maybe slightly before. Is whenever we're going to start to see that overall. But yeah, and eventually that just starts, going right through the states, as you can see, cuts right through pretty much all the areas. And like I said, I mean, even at this point, 08 Zulu, this would be 4 a.m. Eastern, so 3 a.m. Central. So right at this point in time, it's going to be still kicking off probably pretty strong. We're still likely going to be getting some really strong winds with this overall. In which, that'll start to roll its way into even western Michigan, at that point. We're talking just before sunrise at this point, those storms starting to roll into Michigan, which could still be problematic, for potential damaging winds and all of that. And also around that time, that storm system will probably be going around there towards Chicago area. Chicago area probably could be starting to see a little bit of that activity there overall. So, like I said, when it comes to it, for the most part, like I said, it's going to be a pretty heavy hitter for quite a few areas here. But yeah, the storm's expected to really kind of die down right around sunrise. Actually, right as the sun comes up, that's kind of when we're expecting the storm to kind of weaken a bit. Kind of runs out of that instability overall. Let me take a look. Yeah, it kind of runs out of that instability, as you can kind of see. Not as much instability out there versus as it was up here. There's a lot of instability in our atmosphere up there. Strong upwards forcing is going to easily break through that cap. But yeah, you've been given that it'll eventually run out of instability tomorrow morning, just before sunrise, or right around sunrise and that'll start to calm things down a bit. So that'll be good. But I want you guys to know though that this event will be quite active. Overnight. And this will be a very nocturnal threat here overall. Let's see here. I sleep with my no weather radio on all summer in Michigan. Doesn't hurt to always have it on. That's true. It might scare you to death a couple times, like it has done me before in the past. But it's good. I mean, I'd rather be scared than potentially being in danger from storms. That's why I always stress how important like having a weather radio is that way you don't have to have the stream up all the time. Whenever we'll do coverage tonight for some of it, I will tell you that. I'm going to try to cover a lot of the Wisconsin coverage. Will probably end as soon as it gets near Chicago area. I'm going to try. I'm probably going to get really tired, but we'll try to do as long of coverage as I can tonight on this event here. I'm going to try to push through as much as I can to possibly be live as long as possible overall for you guys. As it's going to definitely be needed, of course. But yeah, those weather radios are very important. That way you guys can, just do your everyday things, and if it goes off, then you tune in, and that way you'd know overall. Let's see. Andrew says hopefully we'll get some rain down in the southwest and southeast. The southeast, we've been getting a little bit of rain. Yeah, a little bit of rain out here in the southeast. Out there where I'm at in Florida, we've been getting our daily thunderstorms lately. It's actually been pretty nice. We've had quite a dry break there for a while. But anyway, so let's go ahead and hop our way back over here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and go over the overall convective outlook with you all again. So like I said, as of right now, SPC has an enhanced risk, a level 3. Let me actually go ahead and update that real quick. I've actually forgot to update that for you. So let's go ahead and update this to a level 3. So we got an enhanced risk for today. A severe threat level 3 out of 5, going all the way from St. Paul, basically, Minneapolis there, all the way from St. Paul down there towards near Chicago, actually near Milwaukee area. Did they extend that? I feel like that just barely reached Milwaukee. I think they might have extended that. I don't know. But yeah, so we got an enhanced risk out there. Level 3 threat that does include areas like in northern Illinois, central southern Wisconsin, portions out there like in southeastern Minnesota overall. So we got an enhanced risk. And the slight risk here, that level 2 severe weather threat still is a decent shot for severe weather. Is across the yellow, even including as far northwest as eastern North Dakota. And that also goes into, like I said, western Michigan here, northwestern Indiana. It's kind of north central and northern portions here of Illinois overall, and of course portions of Iowa. So we could have some severe weather out there, and even a little bit in the plains too, as the models have been picking up on maybe some late thunderstorm activity out there towards like Nebraska too. Not going to be as crazy as the storms are expected to be up here in like Minnesota and Wisconsin overall, but whenever it comes to it there, that's our overall severe weather threat. Now, tornado probability, like I was mentioning, we do have a 5% chance for tornadoes out there. We are talking the greatest potential for tornadoes today is going to be in Wisconsin. That will be across like the central southern side here of Wisconsin. Also, southeastern Minnesota there. That's kind of where the heaviest of that potential tornadic activity will be. So across that brown area, there's a possibility for a couple tornadoes in that region. Across the dark green areas, that's also a low-end tornado threat, which is basically saying a couple isolated tornadoes in the dark green areas cannot be ruled out. So that goes all the way from eastern North Dakota, isolated tornado or two could be possible, going all the way down through Chicago and possibly up into like northwestern areas here of Indiana. So that right there is kind of what we're looking at there with the tornado probability. Damaging winds, that, like I said, that's where it really hits. That's where the main threat's going to be, is those damaging winds. And we're going to have ourselves some pretty strong winds out there for areas near Minneapolis. This area here that you see that white dotted lines going through it, that's our netted area. That is our significant threat. That's our significant / hatch risk area. And that's the region where we have those damaging winds, possibly exceeding 80 miles an hour today. we're definitely going to be having some pretty high-end winds being a concern for today. Now, luckily, like I was saying, as we progress down to the southeast, right as we get to around Chicago, that's when that significant wind threat kind of ends. That'll be like later tonight, like late tonight, early tomorrow morning, actually. In which, the winds aren't going to be as strong for areas up in Michigan. Once again, maybe 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts out there. And in that netted area, that black dashed line area, that right there is where we're going to see possibly 80 plus. So really, really strong winds out there. And then, of course, lastly, on the convective outlook here, as the latest outlook, we have a pretty decent hatch risk for hail, too. So across that area here, with those dotted lines, the hatch risk for hail. This is where we could see some hail, possibly 2 inches in diameter. So that's, for example, that's larger than a golf ball, potentially larger than golf ball hail could be out in those regions there. So we're talking some pretty big hail possible in those netted areas up there overall. Let's see here. Pouring here, nice tabletop. Good to get some rain, man. Let's see here. Will this be severe once it moves into Michigan? Yeah, so there is a possibility that we could get some severe weather out of this in Michigan early tomorrow morning. We're not expecting any hail for Michigan really out of this event. The main thing is, the only thing really is going to be for damaging winds. Like I was mentioning, there's a possibility, as that line of storms rolls through Michigan late, really, really late, like I said, actually mid-morning tomorrow, basically just before sunrise. Like I said, that's kind of when we're going to be seeing, the possibility out there for maybe some of those winds being, 60 miles an hour, maybe up to 70. Gusting could be possible. Let me bring up the models again for timing so I can kind of show you guys right around the time of when we can expect those storms here. Now, take this with a grain of salt. Like I was mentioning here, these models ain't perfect. They give you an estimate on, kind of what you could see potentially out of them. So according to the NAM, that the big stuff's not expected to happen until late this evening. Probably right around, just after sunset, we're going to start to see that activity really start to kind of kick up out there. So out there for areas near, like Minneapolis area, St. Paul, probably will be like right around 10 o'clock Central. So your guys' time, maybe around 10 o'clock or so, maybe slightly before. Just depends, once again, whenever storms fire off. I'll keep on monitoring it. Obviously, if any adjustments will be needed, I'll let you guys know with the timing and stuff. But, right around 10 o'clock or so, we'll have that rolling through Minneapolis. It'll start to roll into Wisconsin just before midnight. Right around midnight, it'll be starting to kind of pop up there towards or maybe slightly after midnight. Out there towards like Wausau, maybe La Crosse areas. Southeastern Minnesota still towards like Rochester area. Could be seeing that storm overall. As we approach towards like 2 a.m., we're kind of getting up there towards Reedsburg area, maybe Appleton, Wisconsin, possibly even like northeastern portions of Iowa. Now, the NAM, this model we're looking at here, this is the one that supports that. The HRRR, which is the High Resolution Rapid Refresh model, that does not support the storms up here. So that's something we'll have to just see if it'll happen or not. But yeah, so then we work our way over here into right around 3 o'clock or so. Around 3 o'clock a.m., it'll be going towards Madison, coming up on Milwaukee roughly. Now remember, these are estimated times. These are not, obviously there's no way of telling approximate times, but estimated. And then, of course, as we roll right our way towards like 5 o'clock in the morning here, that'll be coming up near Chicago, also near Grand Rapids, Michigan. With those damaging winds, and at that point the significance will be over. So the main concern for these storms here, guys, is going to be basically between honestly, like 10 anywhere from, it depends on when these fire off, but let's just say we'll just say 8 to play it safe, because some models do show right here at 8 o'clock the storm's really starting to fire. So we'll say between like 8 and 5 a.m., 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. So you can imagine it's a pretty long-lived storm there. So that is, 9 hours? 9-hour lived storm, potentially, producing those significant winds. So that is kind of what we really need to look out there for. So once again, out there by Minneapolis, possibly just before midnight, out there near Eau Claire, Rochester, just right there, right around midnight or so. Wausau, Wisconsin, maybe around 1 o'clock. La Crosse, same time. Madison, maybe like 3 o'clock. Milwaukee, 3, 4 o'clock a.m. These are estimated times. Once again, these are kind of when we could expect that line of storms to roll through. But and like I was mentioning again, I'll mention it again for you guys for the new people joining. Like I was saying earlier, for the people, if you live in Wisconsin here, there is a possibility that all of Wisconsin will get impacted by thunderstorms. So this whole line will be covering much of Wisconsin overall. Now, when it comes to it here, guys, like I said, if you have anything that's loose outside, such as, like lawn furniture, anything that could easily be blown around, like plants or whatever outside, it would be highly recommended that you, guys bring that stuff in. Bring all that stuff in. That way, it doesn't get blown around outdoors. You don't want to lose or damage your property out there. So that would be highly recommended to, just to bring in all that stuff out there. Let's see here. Is there a criteria to have EAS alert sent for a severe thunderstorm warning? Yeah. So for what considers a severe thunderstorm is winds 60 miles an hour, or actually 58 miles an hour or more, is considered a severe thunderstorm. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, look at that, y'all. I just now noticed there's a smiley face in there. Sorry, big squirrel time moment. Very much distracted. So basically 58 miles an hour or more in terms of winds, and hail quarter size or larger. And of course, if there's a tornado, of course, that automatically makes it a severe thunderstorm. So yeah, that's the criteria for severe weather. But like I said, we're going to be well over that criteria more than likely tonight with everything going on. Anyways, all right, let's hop on back to the models, y'all. We're going to take a look back at some of these guys going on. So, like we were mentioning today, guys, when it comes to the system, there is a lot of instability in the atmosphere. We are talking, possibly, over 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability. And that's not just one model saying that. This is the HRRR here, the high resolution rapid refresh model. We have the rapid refresh model. This model also shows over 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability or thunderstorm energy. Once again, typically 1,000 plus could be lining up for a good severe weather event, but this is honestly excessive instability or excessive energy potential in our atmosphere. So there's a lot of energy out there potentially. When it comes to NAM, we got ourselves at 5,000 joules per kilogram as well. NAM Nest. It's crazy. All the models here are showing a high-end amount of instability. So that in itself is a little concerning for me there. On that system, high-end supercell composites, which is showing potentially some supercell characteristics on those storms overall. Now, of course, we have ourselves like I was saying, some pretty high-end values near like Minneapolis there, just right around like just before midnight or so. Overall there, and of course, we progress our way down in time, and that threat will eventually lower itself overnight. Once it runs out of instability and works its way up there towards Indiana and stuff, that is that. And also, like we were mentioning too, the NAM with the NAM model and stuff like that. How later on tonight, we're gonna have ourselves, or actually not just the NAM, but also just the models in general. As we roll ourselves into tonight, we're going to have ourselves some amplified lower level winds there due to that little surface low that we have over Minnesota. So we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a dip there in the jet stream, so a little bit of a trough. And like I said, that's going to be increasing our lower level winds to potentially, I think, that could allow maybe possibility of some some potentially strong tornadoes out there, just considering that we have an excess of 40 knots, 40, 45 knot lower level wind shear could support that. Mid-level wind shear, like I said, nothing out of this world really, but just considering how much instability we have, how potentially strong our lower level winds could be when it comes to it. Like here's the NAM model, shows some pretty high, lower level winds out there. That could really contribute to that tornado concern out there overall. So, yeah. With that being said, between the winds and the damaging wind, between the winds and the instability out there, there's it's lining up pretty well. Oh shoot! Did my camera go out? Oh man, I have a loose cable on that camera, so it typically loves to cut out on me sometimes. I do need to buy I need to buy me a new cable eventually. I think that's the big problem here. Let's see here. D says tornado threat highest around southern portion of supercell usually. Hold on. So okay, I think you have a little bit of confusion here. So a supercell is a rotating thunderstorm. Okay, so it's a rotating thunderstorm here. Here, let me try to get my camera back up for you guys. Okay, there we go. Cool. So a supercell is a rotating thunderstorm, which not all supercells produce tornadoes, but rotating thunderstorms contribute to tornadoes because they're rotating. So what I think you might be trying to say is on the southern side of this this big bow that we're talking about here. Let me hop on back. I think you're talking about like the southern side of this here, where the greatest tornado potential is. For this event, yeah, that's kind of where some of the heaviest of the potential tornadic activity could be. Another area I do kind of want to watch, though, it depends, is also areas up here on that northern part. Sometimes on the upper nose, or that point there, up on that northern edge. Sometimes you can get some spin-up tornadoes in that region. So possibly even maybe some tornadoes up there. SPC doesn't have a risk for tornadoes in this region, though, because not all models do support that. So I wonder if they're going to add that in a later outlook or whatnot. We'll see. We'll definitely see. Instability is off the charts. It's up to 6,000 joules per kilogram. Yeah, it's pretty high out there. We're well over 5,000 according to all models. All the models we really looked at out there really does show a pretty solid amount. Let's see here. Yeah, there's no tornado warnings in place, so that siren they probably did was a test for you. They might be just testing those sirens to make sure they work for tonight. That would be pretty good to do, honestly. Let's see here. Cheryl says, where is this? Just joined. So this is up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Also heading up there towards maybe like northern northern Illinois, possibly like western Michigan. That's kind of that's kind of the regions we're seeing this. But yeah, the heaviest activity overall is going to be between portions of kind of south and southern and central portions here of Minnesota. As well as a lot of Wisconsin, and maybe even northeastern Iowa. We'll have to see how that plays out there, because some of the models. Some of the models do not entirely support that working its way up there towards the northeastern side here of Iowa. Some models do, some models don't. This one in particular does, which is the NAM 3-kilometer model. This one does support that, so we'll see. So how bad will Appleton get hit? Where's Appleton at? I'm not entirely too sure where Appleton is at. What state is that even in? Still not entirely too sure. Oh, shoot. I lost my camera again. Yeah, let me know where that's at, my friend. If you could let me know the state, I would let you know, my friend. But yeah, so like I was mentioning, once again, we're going to hop over to tornado probability. So as of now, for tornadoes, they have a 5% chance of tornadic activity. So maximum tornado probability as of right now is 5%. So that goes all the way from Minneapolis towards Milwaukee. That's what that was. What I was talking about earlier, how I thought they extended it into Chicago. No, so it's a 5% chance for tornadoes. Like I said, 5% chance from tornadoes all the way from Minneapolis going down to Milwaukee, as far to the north as just slightly south of Wausau, Wisconsin, and this also does include maybe a little bit of northeastern Iowa there, so there could be maybe a little bit of that. Let's see, Appleton's north of Green Bay, Wisconsin. So is that like north? Oh, here we go, Appleton. So there's Green Bay. So this area has lower end tornado probability. It's a 2% chance for tornadoes down here. Up in this area, there's as of now no tornado prob. I personally think they should at least put the 2% a little higher up north. Personally, because on that little tip, like I was talking about, up in the north, sometimes you can get some spin ups occurring on that northern edge. I've seen it happen many times. So I don't know if they're going to end up updating that maybe to include a higher tornado risk up a little more into the north. I guess it just depends on later model runs and stuff, because not all model runs do support those storms getting up that high. Here's the latest HRRR model run. This one also has, those storms rolling up there. Yeah, I personally think they should possibly add a little bit more higher of a risk up there towards Wisconsin. That's what I think. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out later today. Let's see. What's up, Jenny? Hope you're doing good, my friend. Let me try to get my camera back up and rolling again here. Hold on. Okay, we're good for now. Thing loves cut up on me. It's a loose cable. It's like the metal part is bent on the end of the cable. I think it's about to go any time now. I just have to wiggle it around and then reactivate my camera. Let's see here. What's up, Cat Loaf? Hope you're doing good, man. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hop our way back over here, y'all. We're gonna take a look back at the system. So once again, as mentioned, guys, this is probably gonna be a pretty impactful set of storms here. Like I said, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm here to let you know that this is probably gonna be a pretty impactful line of storms here overall, and I just want you all to be prepared, be weather aware. Once again, we're going to have the storms start to happen sometime, later on this evening. Probably right around, there's a possibility right around sunset, maybe slightly before, that we could start to get some of that thunderstorm activity. Like, for example, the NAM has that storm activity firing off out there in northwest of Minneapolis overall, out there in the west central side here of Minnesota overall. So that's possible. Jenny, thank you so much for the $10. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. I deeply, deeply appreciate that, Jenny. Thank you. That is very, very sweet of you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that, Jenny. That really helps me out a lot. Thank you so much. That is super, super, super nice of you. So anyway, like we were mentioning, overall, knowledge is power. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole reason we're here, guys. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to put fear or anything like that into you guys. I'm here to help. I'm here to make sure you guys are understanding the possible significance, of this event out there. Because, like I said, we have some pretty good potential, for severe weather. So then we continue to work our way further down in time, with the system. We're going to be crossing near Minneapolis probably right around like 10 o'clock p.m. or so. So maybe around 10 o'clock. Once again, this is estimated times. This is obviously not, this is obviously not approximate. Models are very, very, still not 100% predictive or not 100% accurate. While it could be around this time, like I said, it's unknown for sure. But we're estimating probably just before midnight, rolling through Minneapolis, starting to go into possibly, Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, right around midnight. Or so, and then of course working its way out there, towards the central side of Wisconsin, possibly maybe around like 1 o'clock in the morning or so, heading there towards like the eastern and the south central side, possibly right around like 2 o'clock, starting to roll towards the southern side, maybe around 3 o'clock, starting to head out of Wisconsin, and into western Michigan. They're right around, right around 4 o'clock or so, and then out there towards Chicago, maybe around 5, and then you can see once the sun comes up, right around like 8 or 9 o'clock or so, or 7, 8 or 9. That's when it starts to kind of fade out there. So, and the reason it's gonna kind of die out there is just because of the lack of instability overall. We're gonna lose a lot of our instability. So you can see all of that energy up there. There's a lot of instability here overall. Of energy. And, as this system rolls through, it's going to eat up all that instability, and once it approaches, the areas down here, it's going to run out of that energy, and it's just going to kind of fizzle out. So that's going to be the death of that storm there. It's going to be running out of that energy. If it had a consistent flow, it might be able to keep on going longer, but there's not going to be that instability in place out there, unfortunately, or fortunately for the storm. Or, sorry, fortunately for us, unfortunately for the storm. So that's that. Let's see here. Kind of suspicious that SPC hasn't updated yet. If they go moderate, it'll be 2 upgrades in 1 day because they start off at a slight risk. We will see. What time does the new Outlook upgrade or update? I should say. Oh yeah, should be out any time now. Should be out any time. So we'll go ahead and go over that. Like I said, y'all, we're gonna go live probably around 8 o'clock Eastern time. So. Like I said, if you haven't already, consider subscribing, leaving a like, and turn that notification bell on. That way you guys can get notified, whenever we do end up go live for this event here. Like I said, we're here to help you out. I'll be able to tell you what's going on in the storm throughout the night. We'll have radar up. We'll have, obviously possibly cameras actually too. I think we might have some cameras nearby in Minneapolis and stuff like that. So we'll try to do some camera views for you guys too today. But like I said, we'll do some coverage on it. We'll keep y'all weather aware. So if you haven't already, consider it. Really appreciated. Let's see. SPC updated 1 minute ago. No change. Yep, you're right. It is still an enhanced. Still an enhanced. Yeah, there is literally no change with it. Okay. Well, that is that, y'all. Here, let's get my camera back up and running again for probably a few minutes. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop our way over here back to my other program here with you guys. So, like I said, it just depends on what model you look at there. Some models have it starting over Minneapolis, like HRRR has, the main event starting over Minneapolis with maybe a little bit of storms up there in like northwestern Minnesota. Meanwhile, the start with the NAM here, the NAM model takes this to a different approach here overall, and kind of has the event starting off maybe in like west central areas of Minnesota, and then crossing over areas like Minneapolis. So yeah, here's the latest model run actually coming through right now. This one still actually possibly even has a little bit more thunderstorm activity out there just north of Des Moines. That's certainly a possibility. So that is something we'll have to definitely see out for overall. Let's see here, 5% chance overall tornado probability here. So yeah, they really didn't update a thing on that probability overall. So we are still in the same outlook as we've been for a little bit, but yeah. So that's the latest 18 Zulu NAM 3K. Still kind of the same on timing too. Actually, Chicago right around 5 a.m. or so. Milwaukee maybe around like 3 a.m. roughly. Madison maybe around like 2 a.m. roughly. Let's see, Wausau, Wisconsin maybe around 1 a.m. Eau Claire maybe like midnight, and out there towards like Minneapolis possibly right around midnight or so. Actually, yeah, possibly near midnight or so. We'll have to keep an eye on it. I'll be watching the weather guys throughout the day in order to keep you guys weather aware, and that way I'll go live as soon as I start seeing a lot of things starting to convect and all of that. See it split. Yeah, it kind of looks like it splits a little bit, but honestly, it looks a little more aggressive out there towards like western Michigan, according to the new NAM 3 model. The NAM has not always been the best model to look at. Let me try the HRRR. We should have a 19 Zulu out now. Actually, it's starting to render now. Let's try it. Go back to 18 Zulu. Yeah, so the 18 Zulu run here, the long run of this model has, this also really kicking in out there. This one even has it going near Detroit. You can actually see this is right around like 8 a.m. Right around sunrise, a little bit after sunrise, I think. So this one actually has that storm activity going in towards Detroit, and doubt it'll be anything severe. We'll have to see overall, but yeah, that'll eventually cross over the lake and go in towards Michigan. Now, Michigan, like I was saying, is not under the tornado threat. The only thing that they're going to get, my friends, is going to be possibility for like damaging winds. Hail, not even much of a hail threat either. However, Wisconsin is in that triple threat. Yeah, Wisconsin has the possibility of seeing like possible couple tornadoes embedded in that line. It's going to make it very difficult, if impossible, to see any tornadoes because of the fact that it's nighttime and rain wrapped potentially. So like I was explaining, inside of the line here, sometimes you can get some tornadoes that are inside of the line that they're going on, but they're wrapped in rain. There's curtains of rain wrapping it, making it impossible to see, so you can't make it out. So that's why, like I said, if you're in a warning later today, if you're in a tornado warning, that's why you need to take action. And don't sit on your porch and wait until you see it, because chances are you're not going to be able to see it until it's too late. Even then, you probably won't be able to see it. It just seemed like a bunch of winds. So yeah, definitely take that into consideration. And once again, I've mentioned this a lot today. I want to keep on mentioning it for the people who's out in Wisconsin. So, like I said, we're still not entirely sure how big, where exactly this line is going to be, but we're very confident on the fact it's going to cover most of Wisconsin. Now, with that being said, if you live in Wisconsin, just in general, because like I said, a lot of the state is going to be impacted by this storm. If you're in Wisconsin in general, what I want you to do, okay, is, bring in any loose things that you have outside. If you have plants, if you have, anything that could easily be blown around, lawn furniture, anything that could easily be knocked over and blown around your yard or whatever, bring that indoors and, leave it indoors until the storm passes. And of course, you can put it out the next day. So make sure you do that by tonight before the storms happen. I want you all to do that before sunset, okay? If you live in Wisconsin, take a bit of advice and bring your stuff in, because like I said, these winds today, guys, we're talking significant winds. And we are seeing possibilities of these winds exceeding 80 miles an hour, which that is damaging, and that would cause some problems. That's kind of like low-end tornadic winds, which can cause damage. Even some shingles and stuff like that could be missing. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But yeah, we'll do coverage, guys, later on here today, later on tonight. So we'll keep y'all updated with that. But anyways, well, I think I'm probably going to head off here soon, y'all. We've been live about 2 hours. Just wanted to do our first part here with you guys. If you guys haven't already, please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It'll be greatly appreciated. Not only that way you guys can stay updated on the weather, but also, it'll also help boost our channel too to YouTube and help us, reach out further. So if you guys could, please consider subscribing, leaving a like. That would be much appreciated. So I hate being those classic YouTubers always telling you to do that. But generally, though, for a channel like this, that will essentially help out a lot for other people get the information that they need and everything like that. So if y'all could do that, you wouldn't be doing me a favor, but you'd be doing everybody a favor as well. So consider it, my friends. Greatly appreciated. Let's see. Yeah, bring your pets in too. That's a for sure thing. You don't want to leave your pets out inside of that. In that mess either. It could definitely be a bit nasty out there tonight. You're welcome, Wendy. No problem. No problem at all. Let me go ahead and go over our donators real quick. We had a few supporters today. We had a few donators out there. I just want to go ahead and give a thank you to our donators. So a big thank you goes to Jenny, Matthew, and Tabletop. Thank you guys for your kind donations and all that. And like I said, it's greatly appreciated. If you guys did want to support us and what we do to help pay for radar programs and stuff like that, we do have a Venmo. It's at NWW116. It's up there. It's pinned in the comments if you guys want to check it out. We do take super chats, whatever. Like I said, I'm just saying if you wanted to, that's how you do it. It would be much appreciated, of course, and it definitely helps us out a lot. So thank you guys for being here. Once again, subscribe on your way out. Leave a like. Maybe share this too, because like I said, tonight we're gonna need a lot of coverage on the storm set tonight. So we will make sure to be here with you guys. But alrighty, guys. Once again, thank you all for joining. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And like I said, I deeply appreciate all of y'all for joining here, just for hanging out with us and all that stuff. And we will catch you guys tomorrow, or sorry, later today. My bad. Later tonight into tomorrow we'll be live for you guys. Alrighty, y'all. You guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great day at work, whatever you're doing, and we'll catch y'all later on. Alright, guys. Take care. Thanks once again, and we'll see ya later on.